Art is the use of the imagination to express ideas and feelings, particularly in forms of drawing, painting, and photography. So before we can understand the role art plays in politics, one must first understand the basis, which is a notion brought forward by Aristotle, which states that the very act of artistic creation is inseparable from the issues and beliefs of the real world. This is why most social movements, usually various artworks, without fall against their ideals in their way. Examples of this we have the art made during the Helen Renaissance in the early to mid 1900s, which was caused by a rising consciousness in the discrimination faced by African Americans, and also feminist art, which was inspired by the views and actions of the suffragettes in the early 20th century. Therefore, it must be known that art is universally entwined with politics, and while it is not a singular form of political reform, it plays a useful and active part. So the next of the slide, I divided it into gallery art, like paintings, street art, which are murals, and photography. So traditionally, art was for the rich. Like most of the art that was made all those years, 1600s, 1700s, 1800s, they were made actually for political and religious holders. So the church and the nobles, if an artist is meant to make a work, it's meant to glorify their beliefs, and if it did not do that, they would criticize it, discontinue it, or even destroy it. But during the 20th century, at the start of it, most artists began to break free and free of their normal censorship. They started to criticize their government, speak about world issues, and explain their own personal ideals. And these are some of them. The first one is Pablo Picasso's Massacre in Korea. So, Pablo Picasso was a famous communist, and he heavily criticized the American intervention in the Korean War, which took place from 1950 to 1953. In the abstract art, he depicts the American army as a reshaping troop, pointing at the helpless Koreans as they stand in front of their soon-to-be murderers. The second one is Peter King's Watercolor of Terrorism. So, towards the end of the Second World War, Peter King was a Jewish artist captured in the terrorism ghetto. So he created this waterpiece to capture on canvas the horrors they experienced, and this later went on to become one of the most important world documents on the treatment of Jewish inmates in Nazi concentration camps. Sadly, Peter King died in 1944 when he was transported to Auschwitz in Germany. And lastly, we have Norman Rockwell, A Problem We All Live With. This work was made during the heat of the civil rights movement in the 1960s, and it addresses their racism in America and the plight faced by black people during the era of Jim Crow. In the painting, you can see a girl being escorted by 4 US Marshals, and that's the true story of Ruby Bridges, who is still alive today, who was the first black child to be integrated to an all-white school. And every day in school, she was met with angry, racist protesters, pouring her slurs and throwing tomatoes at her. So she had to be escorted to class with 4 US Marshals. The next slide is protest in street art and mural. I personally believe that protest in street art is better than protest in gallery art. Why is it art? Well, anyone can do street art. You don't have to be rich, you don't have to be poor, you don't have to identify yourself. You just pick a blank wall on the street and paint. Because of that, it's more artistical than gallery art. It's not really constrained and most people can see it. Murals have always been around, but usually associated with the art of the Italian Renaissance and the works of the illustrious grandes, which was Diego Rivera, Jose Clement, Azoco, and David Alfaro. These painters were at the forefront of the Mexican muralism movement in 1920, which was an effort to reunite the divided country after the revolution. For some other noteworthy street art, we have Boy Fits for Work. In 2018, the artist did a graffiti art campaign across 5 job centers in the UK. He painted outlines of bodies on the driveways of the buildings, spattered them with red paint for blood, and scrawled on doors, walls, and windows the word Fits for Work. This was done to protest the government cuts that affected thousands of unemployed British citizens, including his own mother. And then we have Dimitri Verbel's The Kiss. This famous or infamous graffiti work was done on the remains of the Berlin Wall in 1990 and was originally called My God Help Me Survive This Deadly Load. So it shows a kiss between 2 men. The communist leaders were Brezhnev and Erich Honecker, and it's said to be a continuation of politics after the Cold War. So lastly, we have political process in photography. In the art world, photography is a new invention, but common of the communist time. In the beginning, photography wasn't successful because it was exhausting, it was costly, you just sit down there, you wait, you smile. It was just boring to be there, so nobody really did it. But soon they became popular and they even replaced portraits as they were cheaper, easier to manufacture and easier to distribute. So most people argue that photography is the most authentic form of art because it captures events that happen in real time. And also that makes them invaluable in protest. However, the only quality of photography that makes it not reliable in protest is its fluidity. Because unlike the other forms of art I mentioned before, the meanings of photographs shift constantly and can change to accommodate different contexts and environments. We have photography or political protest. The first one is Baba Kogra's We Don't Need Another Hero. So Baba Kogra was a famous conceptual artist and feminist who made this work in 1987 using black and white photography, red banners and bold fonts. And it's said to be a reflection on the harmful gender roles put on men in their community behaviors. Because most men I've seen, most boys I've seen, they feel like they can't show their emotion, they have to be strong. And it's not really good because it just makes you trap your emotions. And crying is not a sign that you're weak, it's a sign that you're alive. Everybody cries. That's how they know you're alive when they give birth to you. So I feel like all men should learn how to cry and learn how to feel and don't be a stone wall. It's good to feel. The last one we have Ai Weiwei with flower. So Ai Weiwei is a famous Chinese artist that's openly critical of the dictator Chinese Communist Party. In 2011, he was arrested for 81 days, and even after he was released, he was trapped in China. They put him under house arrest, they seized his passport, and he was there for 4 years. For 600 days, starting on November 13, 2013, he started with flowers, a part protest, part performance art piece. So for 600 days, he put his bicycle outside of his house and put flowers inside and took a picture of it. On the 601st day, the Chinese government returned his passport. From all of this, we can see that political protest is a very helpful way in social reform. But I feel like the reason why we of us really grasp it or want to understand it or think it's boring is because we don't understand that the very act of art challenge the status quo and what we believe in, conscience based on us by society. This is why most political artists, they have been arrested, they have been even killed, their morals have been erased, they're in prison, there's a ban on spreading their things just because of the impact these things have. I want us to understand that even when, back in the old days, whether it was the Black Art movement in 1960s to 1970s, or some bored German teenagers painting the western wall of the Berlin Wall, we should understand that art has always been a vital part in social reform, and we should all try to understand it. If we not engage in it, we should understand it, because that is very helpful in changing the course of history. For as I say, the picture is worth 1,000 words. Thank you.